Hey everyone, I'm Beth. This is Bravely Being Yoga, and we are here today to do a practice that's all about tension. And of course we mean muscle tension, but as always we're approaching this kind of from that mental health perspective as well. So we're really looking at the way that emotional tension kind of lives in our bodies, right? So as always, please consult your primary care physician and your mental health professional before participating in these videos, okay? I encourage you to set yourself up for this short practice somewhere near a wall. You may want to use a wall for our final pose of the practice, or you may prefer to use a chair. So maybe have a chair nearby as well. Of course, you can always pause and get whatever you need. So as we talk about tension, let's go ahead and bring our focus both to our bodies and to our emotions, kind of hand in hand. Maybe taking a moment now to really tune in and notice where there is an experience of tension physically. And as you're kind of capturing that physically, maybe notice what has been causing stress in your world, what has been creating an atmosphere, an environment of emotional tension, may be manifesting as anxiety for you recently. And then let's just notice what those things are. So for me, I tend to experience tension. I think many of us do in our shoulders, but I also get this kind of gut check sensation, this almost solar plexus, kind of moving into the stomach, but I can really sense that, and it pairs for me a lot with my lower back. So those are symptoms almost in my body of when I am experiencing emotional tension, and it's very easy for me to feel the feeling before I actually can bring my awareness to that emotional piece, before I can put words or label it. So just keep that in mind. Maybe just keep those sensations and those stressors in mind as we move through this. Just like sit them here next to you as we practice. Just let them be there without really feeling a need to work on them at all, okay? As always, we're going to build a little bit of heat in our systems, just enough so that we can practice safely and comfortably. So if you'd like, we might turn long ways on the mat so that we can do a little bit of a lengthening, muscle engaging pose here. So I encourage you to join me as we lengthen from the tops of our heads down to the base of our spine here. And as that length happens, we'll really experience this knitting together in the front of our bodies, right? That place I was just describing, experiencing tension, we might knit that together. And maybe this is enough. Maybe this little slight angle back feels like enough for our abdominal muscles to kind of engage. Or maybe we want to lift one foot off. Or maybe we even want to lift both off. Maybe we keep supporting ourselves with our hands under our legs. And maybe as we start to breathe, we can notice what it feels like to have this V shape with length kind of extending out on these diagonals, okay? If you start to feel a little shake, that's okay. It's probably a physical heat building part of this experience. Sometimes that shake is a little bit emotional. It has something to do with emotional stuff. Either way, it's fine. I wouldn't worry about it either way. As we hold this, maybe we keep focusing on that inhale and exhale and really feeling the energy that pulls us in both directions. And as we feel ready, once we feel that little bit of heat has been built to the point where we feel comfortable, we might put one foot down and the other, okay? I'll face you again as we come back to a comfortable seated position. As always, for For some people, sitting like this is very uncomfortable for their hips, so make sure you're comfortably seated for what your body likes. Maybe that means sitting on a pillow or some blankets. Maybe it means sitting in a chair, right? Just, we're always being gentle. We're never pushing ourselves to the point of pain ever in this practice. So let's just settle back in. Maybe we float our eyes closed if that feels safe. We always can leave them open if that feels better to our bodies. And as we start to allow that energy to drop down from our very cognitive brain heavy experience of ourselves, just letting it kind of sink a little bit lower as we breathe. Maybe we notice the inhale that kind of inflates our stomach and the exhale bringing the front of our bodies back into this kind of knitted place. And I really encourage all of us to focus on that length that we had in our previous pose, moving from our head down to our tailbone. And maybe as we continue to experience that spine lengthening, we just, with that next exhale, could maybe drop our chins down to our chest. Making sure that those shoulders are still really drawing towards the back space. And maybe we even start to pair a little bit of a head circle. Just a half circle for now. Bringing one ear to one shoulder with the exhale releasing back to center. And the other side. Again, just checking in. There isn't a right or wrong part of this experience. Maybe there's a really narrow range of motion, or maybe you really have quite a expansive range of motion here. As we feel ready, maybe we bring that head back up to center. I encourage you once more to check in with that core, that knitting together, right? Just experiencing that length. And maybe here, we might take our hands, our arms, and our shoulders and purposefully create some tension with an inhale. So we might inhale and tense for 2, 3, 4, 5, and then exhale and release. 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe we try again. With an inhale, we really tense those muscles. 2, 3, 4, 5, and release. 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's try it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe a little shake. Just noticing what that sensation felt like. That tension and release on purpose, right? And maybe as we inhale next, we extend those arms to the side, really knitting together those shoulder blades in the backs of our bodies. We forget about the back space of our bodies, but it's there, just as present as the front, right? And maybe on that next exhale, we'll start with bringing our left arm under, our right arm over, and we're gonna wrap these arms around each other, okay? So one goes over, one goes under. And if this is enough and you feel this in your back, then maybe you just stay here, or maybe you continue to wrap once more. So the left hand will go around the right. And again, here we just notice what this feels like. Maybe with each exhale, we can allow those elbows to kind of float higher so that we are parallel with our arms, the base of our arms here, and the floor. Really noticing what this feels like in our shoulder blades and our upper back. Never forgetting that the breathing is still happening. We don't have to force it. We just can notice that it's there. To come out of this pose, we'll just gently unwrap that left arm, bringing those arms back out to this nice expansive stretch, right? Maybe we take a minute to even place those arms behind us, giving our body the reverse, moving into that back space with our arms, opening up there in the front of our bodies, maybe even with a little bit of an extension, our chins moving up towards the ceiling if that feels great. And as we feel ready, maybe we'll try the other side. So this time we'll bring the right arm underneath, right? Let's see, we just did this side. Yep, see what we'll bring, I have to always think about it. We'll bring our right arm underneath this time. Again, if that's enough, that's great. Or maybe we wrap once more. So now that right arm is wrapping around the left. Noticing what feels similar, what feels different on this side. Really feeling the sensation of the gentle pull. If this experience moves out of what is gentle, then we back off, right? Always, we don't move into pain. We stay where it's just an experience of tension releasing, of lengthening, not an experience of pain or discomfort. The whole phrase of no pain, no gain really doesn't apply in yoga. Not trauma-informed yoga, at least. Not yoga where we're trying to reconnect. Noticing the length again from that head down to that tailbone. And as we feel ready, we unwrap that right arm. Maybe we extend out. Maybe we drop those arms down. Maybe just letting those fingertips rest on the floor. Allowing those shoulder blades to really pull together. Experiencing kind of that light and length across the chest. Maybe one more inhale and exhale, and as we feel ready, maybe we settle back to this seated position. So that was a lot. That was a lot of opening in our shoulders, our chest, and our back. Okay, so maybe just noticing what that feels like. Checking in again with that knitting together. That length moving up and down through our spine. Okay. And as we feel ready, we might take one leg, extending it out to the side. Again, we're not trying to extend it directly to the side of our bodies. That's not really a realistic or even healthy position for our bodies to be in, to try to force a split position in our bodies. Again, we're just creating length so that we notice maybe some lengthening in that inner thigh a little bit. Maybe just lengthening one leg is enough. Maybe this feels really like a powerful stretch. And again, if we move into pain, we back off. Maybe we bring that leg to less of a diagonal. Maybe we bring it closer to the front of our bodies. Okay. If we feel like this is great and we'd like more, we can lengthen that left arm. So if you have your right leg extended, maybe we lengthen that left arm out to the side and start to fold over towards that extended leg. Again, as much as we can, we really want to focus on that length and that curve and almost that spiraling up to the ceiling. We really don't want to encourage collapse or sinking in our bodies. We really want to experience this as something that is lengthening and opening. I have this amazing sun coming in right now through my window, and I literally can feel the sun on that hand. And it's really, it's warm. Like I can feel what it feels like in that hand, that left hand, when I am lengthening and rotating versus collapsing and sinking. So it may not look like I'm doing much in this pose, but it feels amazing. As we feel ready, maybe we come back up to the center and switch sides if it feels great. We do want to be balanced, so we want to be able to move through both sides, but one side might look very different from the other due to injury, due to hard stuff, due to the way that our bodies hold things. We may need one leg to look very different from the other, and that's okay. All right. As we're experiencing this, if we're experiencing pain at all in our knees, of course we can back off, but if the stretch feels good, you can also roll up a blanket, putting it under your knees so that your knee can really rest in a soft position instead of locking at all, okay? So again, we may stay here, or we may lengthen that right arm up to the ceiling, lengthening over that extended left leg. Once more, we're noticing what it's like to rotate and lengthen up towards the sky. If we feel a collapsing sensation, we just notice it and maybe inhale and exhale into that spiral instead. Feeling the warmth that's moving through our system as we continue to stretch and expand. As we feel ready, maybe we come back up to the center, bringing that leg back in. Once more, let's just check in and notice, right? A little scan maybe from the top of our head down to our feet, what this length is like, how that tension is doing. Physically, where those sensations are, even though we haven't really touched on the lower spine much, I actually feel an opening in that lower spine, that base of my spine there. And maybe just checking in with the experience of your world right now that you kind of set to the side, the stressors, checking in with that, checking in with your body and just noticing if there's any movement. You can kind of see what that looks and feels like for you. So now we're going to move into our final kind of restoring pose. We're actually going to put our feet up the wall. So if it feels more comfortable for your hamstrings to use a chair instead, I'll kind of talk you through what that's going to look like. Some people like to put their feet up on the wall and they like to kind of roll up or place a blanket under their hips or under their lower spine. So I'm going to show you one of those modifications, but again, take the time to find what feels good to your body in this pose because it is so amazing for your system. It's something that you can really use at any time, but you want to make sure it feels good to you, okay? So like I said, I'm going to use one blanket under my hips. I think, unless that doesn't feel good, and then I'm going to move it. Okay, friends. So as we come to rest here in this final pose, there are a few different modifications that can be used. So we can have this blanket right up underneath our hips. We can have it more underneath our lower spine. We can, if it feels like this is a lot of pressure on the hamstrings, we can bend the knees. We can also use a chair like I mentioned before, so we could bring a chair facing us with the seat facing our body and actually place the calves onto the seat of that chair, which would take a lot of pressure off the hamstrings if that would help. Otherwise, maybe we lay those hands to our sides. And maybe as we start to soften into the floor, we can experience the sensation of being weighted and rooted. Any tension that remains, maybe we just let it melt into the floor. Kind of like butter melting in a pan, right? We just soften. And moment by moment, maybe we release the scalp. Maybe we release and lengthen across the forehead, softening those wrinkles that we get when we're stressed. Maybe we allow the eyeballs to become liquid. We release the cheekbones down towards the base of the skull, softening the jaw, releasing any holding in our throat, our shoulders, letting those ribs and that spine really melt towards the ground. Those arms softening, those fingertips releasing, those hips being held and supported as the weight of the legs drops towards the ground. Friends, I encourage you to stay here for a few more minutes. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sign off from here. Namaste. I hope that you continue to rest well. I look forward to seeing you again soon.